Welcome to Season 3 of MoTorque, where we'll bring you more cars, bikes, adventure, classics, motorsport, and of course, more torque. Here's a look at what's on today's program. The new Mercedes E-Class, a classic Lancia Fulvia Coupe, the Fiat 500 TwinAir, and highlights from the British Car Day.
The mid-sized luxury saloon market is a very competitive one, with several strong contenders that have different strengths and weaknesses. Still, if you're looking for a car that states loud and clear that you've done well, no one does that better than Mercedes-Benz. In the mid-size category, the E-Class is the default choice for those that value solidity, comfort, safety and longevity above all else. And this has been the case for decades.
But today, those attributes are simply not enough. A market that is obsessed with the idea of staying young demands that their cars be sporty and aggressively styled as well. So what you see here today is Mercedes-Benz's response to these requirements. The facelifted 2014 E-Class.
The visual changes are immediately noticeable. The quad headlights that have been an E-Class trademark since the mid-1990s are gone, replaced by heavily sculpted single units. The entire nose is longer, while the grille and bumpers have both been made sharper looking with lots of vents and creases. The aim was to make the car look more visually aggressive and sporting, and it appears to have succeeded in that aim. The sleeker new nose even combines well with the unchanged center section, which has always been a bit upright and square-rigged, which is an impressive achievement for the stylists. The interior has also been changed a bit, but it's all very subtle. New aircon vents and a repositioned clock are the sum total of the changes that you'll notice, so it's not exactly front page stuff. Other than that, it's the same interior as before, which is not a bad thing because this interior was already the standard setter in its class in terms of build and materials quality, something that is still true 5 years since introduction. Every surface you encounter and every tiny little detail is perfectly thought out and tastefully finished, and the whole interior gives this impression of being hewn from granite. Such is the level of solidity. In terms of appearance, as usual for a Mercedes, it's logical, solid and super functional without any extreme attempts at sportiness like some rivals have, which tells us clearly that Mercedes may be willing to adapt to the times, but will not mess with its key strengths. Comfort is obviously superb, with seats that adjust in an infinite number of ways and plenty of stretch out space. Support too is exceptional. Now in our market, a large chunk of the buyers for this kind of car prefer to employ a driver and ride in the back themselves. So naturally, we had to check out what it was like back here. Well, I can tell you that it's very clear that Mercedes have paid a lot of attention to rear passengers because it's as comfortable back here as it is in the front, if not more so. There's plenty of room to stretch out, enough room for legs, shoulders, and headroom as well. In fact, there's space for even the tallest of people to get really comfortable back here. Ideally, of course, only 2 people should sit back here. Now, as you can see, there is space for a third person, including a headrest, but that third person would have to sit in the middle and straddle a rather large transmission tunnel. And this center seat is not as comfortable as the one on both sides. So it's much better if only 2 people ride back here. That way, you can put this armrest down and enjoy this remarkably acrobatic cup holder. Check that out! Now the E-Class is available with a massive range of engines, from economical diesels all the way up to the fire-breathing E63 AMG. Our test car is the entry-level petrol E200 CGI, which is powered by a 1.8-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder. Putting out 184 horsepower, this is no earth-shattering AMG V8, but the turbo gives it a useful 300 Nm of torque, coming on at just 1,200 RPM. That solid torque figure results in impressive flexibility, and plenty of overtaking punch on highway and back road alike. The gearbox is Mercedes' 7G-tronic 7-speed automatic. Yes, 7 speeds, and it matches the engine perfectly in terms of being in the right gear at the right time. The gearbox is switchable between economy and sport modes. Economy is naturally geared towards making the car as efficient as possible. It shifts up early and encourages you to drive economically for maximum fuel efficiency. Sport mode, on the other hand, is all about the acceleration and makes the most use of the 310 Newton meters of torque. The best thing about this gearbox is that it goes about its business smoothly and discreetly. Like a good butler really. It gives you what you need without bothering you with the details. In the corners, the story is the same. The E goes about its business with an air of supreme competence, smooth and unfussed without any drama at all. Body roll is present but not excessive. The steering responds quickly enough, and the car always feels competent and supremely stable in the corners. If you're looking for sports car agility, then obviously an E-Class is not the car for you. But if you want a car that covers ground very quickly in a grown-up manner, then you should definitely be looking at this one. Ride comfort is also very good. Pliant and controlled with no thumping or crashing, even on the worst roads like the one we're on right now. Refinement too is as you'd expect. Sound insulation is extremely good and the cabin is really quiet, even at speed. The only thing that mars the refinement slightly is the engine. When it's working very hard, it can get a little grumbly. But at all other speeds, it's almost silent, as you'd expect. In conclusion, the facelifted E-Class continues in the best Mercedes tradition of making significant improvements without shouting about them too much. The updated styling has resulted in the most attractive E-Class since the classic W124, while all the other tweaks and improvements are sufficient to ensure that it will remain a very compelling option in a hyper-competitive sector. And of course, the presence of that 3-pointed star on the bonnet is always going to ensure that local customers will automatically consider it a cut above the rest. Lancia has a varied and interesting history, and over the course of that history, it has made a massive selection of interesting cars. But most enthusiasts agree that the most significant and interesting of all of them is perhaps the Fulvia Coupe. And this stunning little sky blue beauty is the only Fulvia Coupe that is still running in Sri Lanka, which makes it all the more special. It's a 1967 Series 1 1.3 rally, and as you would expect, it's been through a nut and bolt restoration to bring it to the stunning shape that you see it in today. Fulvias were made over a 13-year run from 1963 to 1976, and over the course of production were available in a bewildering range of variants. The coupe alone had 12 different variations available, although not all at the same time, of course. They range from the first and most basic 1200cc model, simply called Coupe, all the way to the fire-breathing 1.6 HF that formed the basis of the cars used by the Works rally team. Yes, Fulvias actually went rallying, and they were very good at it too. Good enough to win the International Rally Championship in 1972 in fact, and set Lancia on a course to rallying success that made them World Rally Champion 11 times between 1972 and 1992, making it the most successful manufacturer in WRC history. And it all started with the Fulvia. The competition success should not be surprising because the basic package is just so very well engineered. All Fulvias are powered by variations of Lancia's own twin-cam narrow-angle V4, with the cylinders set at 13 degrees to each other and driven by twin camshafts and a common cylinder head for both banks. This engine, which was quite revolutionary at the time, is set up driving the front wheels, something again that was extremely novel for a sporty car in its time. Suspension is independent up front with wishbones and a transverse leaf spring, while the rear has a simple beam axle and panhard rod. Not exactly cutting edge, but it is set up so brilliantly that it's an object lesson in how good simple setups can actually be. Our test car is, as I said earlier, a 1967 Rally 1.3, which is an update of the original 1.2 litre coupe model. And this served as the entry-level car in 1967 when it was built. It has a 1298cc version of the V4 and puts out roughly 87 horsepower, which is quite a bit less than its bigger engine siblings. But you know what? I couldn't care less, because this little engine is simply brilliant at what it does. You genuinely feel like every single one of those 87 horses is giving its 150% towards the idea of helping you go fast. It's just so willing and revs up almost instantaneously. As a bonus, it has an amazing exhaust note too. Just listen to that. This little car is brilliant. The little Fulvia is just as willing in the bends too. The super light and direct steering responds very quickly, and it just grips and scoots, no matter what you throw at it. Understeer was apparently not something they'd heard about at Lancia back in the day, because as far as this car is concerned, it simply does not exist. Some reviews say that it is even possible to provoke serious oversteer for tail-out antics, but obviously we weren't going to try that one with the only car left in the country. Our featured car has been painstakingly restored by well-known enthusiast Kishan Pereira, its current owner. Kishan tells us that when he purchased the car, it had been laid up for many years and as such was suffering from the typical rust problems that plague Italian cars and make them such challenging restorations in a worldwide context. Thankfully though, here in Sri Lanka we still do have competent workmen who can do good quality rust repairs at a competitive price. And this can be borne out by the immaculate work that you can see has gone into this car and its stunning condition today. Kishan believes in using his cars to the fullest, and this can be seen in the way that the Fulvia is used. It is regularly brought out for Classic Car Club events and also the events organized by the Italian Car Club of Sri Lanka. The time we spent with the Fulvia was quite brief, but during that time I completely understood why this car is considered one of the most significant Lancias ever made. It's not one single thing about it. The engineering, the driving appeal, the way it's built, or anything that you can single out, but it is the entire experience of being in and driving this car. Settling in behind that two-spoke steering wheel transports you from wherever you may be to an Italian mountain road in the midst of summer, in the blazing sunshine. This car can take you places, and driving it and being in it was an absolute privilege. The Fiat 500 is no stranger to MoTorque. You've seen it here before when we tested the top-of-the-line Abarth convertible and found its frenzied, slightly mad character extremely endearing. And though the car on your screens looks almost identical, in fact it's very different indeed. Sporting what its maker claims to be the greenest petrol engine currently in production, and supposedly still maintaining every ounce of the 500's fun character, this is the new 500 TwinAir. In terms of styling, the 500 is a winner. Instantly recognizable and very endearing, with plenty of cues to remind you of its beloved 1960s predecessor. Retro styling is always a bit of a risk because if you do it wrong, the result can end up looking cartoonish and ridiculous. But the 500 doesn't fall into that trap, thankfully. Instead, it manages the difficult trick of being a thoroughly modern automobile with the same perky and fun character of its ancestor. It's easy to see why these things are so popular when you see it in the metal. Inside, they've again tried to replicate the classic 500 while staying bang up to date. The dashboard styling recalls the older car's flat metal dash and sparse instrumentation by using a body-colored plastic slab that runs the width of the car and a single huge speedometer that incorporates all the other instruments within it. It mostly works well, though the speedo and the incorporated rev counter take some getting used to. The driving position has a good range of adjustment and it's pretty easy to get comfortable, so you can forget about the old cliches of Italian driving positions. Overall build quality seems pretty solid, but there is a bit too much plastic in this interior. That body-colored slab on the dashboard, for example, would have been so much better if it were made of metal. Powering the 500 TwinAir, as its name suggests, is a 2-cylinder engine. Yes, you heard that right, a twin cylinder, in 2014. But this isn't just any old-fashioned bicycle twin cylinder, oh no. Displacing 900cc and fitted with a turbocharger. This little engine puts out 90 brake horsepower almost, and plenty of low-down torque. In a car as light as a 500, that is a recipe for plenty of fun. The torque is instant, and the little turbo helps the mill rev up pretty quickly and gets this little car flying. If I have a complaint about the drivetrain of the 500 TwinAir, it's got to do with the gearbox fitted to this example. This little engine is so flexible and so much fun that it just begs out for a proper manual gearbox. Unfortunately, our test car today has Fiat's Dualogic automatic. And to be frank, it's not a great gearbox. In full auto, it's just about alright, managing to keep up and shift reasonably smoothly. But if you try to put it into manual mode, it just doesn't work. Every request for a shift results in a bit of delay before the box finally makes up its mind and changes up or down. As a result, making decent progress takes a lot of forward planning. And that's a bit of a shame when you have an engine that's this willing. Still, I think it's something I can live with. The last time we tested a Fiat 500 on MoTorque, it was the Abarth version, and we absolutely loved the way it handled. This more basic TwinAir is not as hardcore as its bigger brother maybe, but you can easily tell that it comes from the same stock. The steering is really quick, body motions are remarkably well contained, and this little car just grips and goes wherever you point it. The only niggle that I have is that the steering could be a bit more communicative, but that's the price you pay for electric power steering. That said, as a complete package, as a little small car that you can have a whole lot of fun in, the TwinAir 500 really takes some beating. To sum up then, the TwinAir Engine 500 is a genuinely significant car. It shows more than anything that being cleaner and greener doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sacrifice having fun behind the wheel. People always say that you can't have your cake and eat it, but you know what? With the 500 TwinAir, it seems to me that you can do exactly that.
has always been a major part of the British motor industry, and this event is showcasing the British motor industry from its inception to date. So we're very happy to be a part of this event, and that's the reason why we're sponsoring it. It also gives us the opportunity to showcase our most modern product, the Range Rover Sport, in the backdrop of the best cars Britain ever made, because we feel that the present models are some of the best cars that Britain does make. We hope the Classic Car Club will make this an annual event, and we have already made our commitment to support this event on an annual basis, because it is a truly great event and we can build on it from year to year.
Classic Car Club is a wonderful group of people, and I've got to know lots of friends. I am from Bandaravilla, so I came down yesterday basically from Bandaravilla with this old car of mine, and we had a few problems by the way because I hardly use it. I got to know such a lot of wonderful people as a result of belonging to the Classic Car Club. So it's fantastic.
Land Rover has been one of the leading innovators of the British motor industry, and their exports reach every corner of the globe. 10% of UK exports are from the motor industry. Since the 1970s, with the creation of the Range Rover, Land Rover went from being an off-road manufacturer to one of the leading manufacturers of prestigious on-road vehicles. In fact, a well-looked-after Defender in Yala gets as much attention as most of the animals. The relationship with Land Rover and Sri Lanka is as old as me, so I know it's very well established. So it's great to see the city being refurbished, and what a fantastic way of enjoying it, driving in a piece of British history. Every car here today has a story to tell on its journey to Sri Lanka and its life while it's been here.
This morning we had the British Classic Car Day sponsored by Land Rover, and as you can see behind me is one of the earliest versions of the Land Rover that is in this country. This has been a wonderful morning which has been supported entirely by the local agents of Land Rover, this Frontier Automotive, and we are grateful to Land Rover for the support that they have given to the Classic Car Club. The Classic Car Club actually brings together almost 300 enthusiasts in the country who are committed and dedicated to support the cause of restoration of classic vehicles. Today was entirely devoted to British cars, but the club supports all manner of cars which are considered classic from various countries. There are over 1,000 cars with the hands of the members of the club. So we are very grateful once again to Frontier and Land Rover because they bring together the enthusiasm and also the panache that is required from such great marks to support the Classic Car Club. So thank you very much, and we look forward to more events with Land Rover. Thank you.
So just finishing off the British Car Day, the first of its kind in Sri Lanka. Extremely awesome event. Over 75 cars were here, and it was really nice to see all these cars, and hopefully we have another one next year as well. So awesome event.